Hi everyone. Today I'll talk at first about two sides of research, analysis and synthesis. Then I'll focus on synthesis and we'll talk about KJ method, a synthetic way developed by Professor Jiro Kawakita. First, I'll briefly define research and knowledge. Research comprises creative work undertaken on a systemic basis in order to increase the stock of knowledge, including knowledge of humans, culture, and society, and the use of this stock of knowledge to devise new applications. Then, what is knowledge? Knowledge is a familiarity, awareness, or understanding of someone or something, such as facts, information, descriptions, or skills, which is acquired through experience or education by perceiving, discovering, or learning. Next topic is analysis and synthesis. In general, analysis is defined as the procedure by which we break down an intellectual or substantial whole into parts or components. Historically, this procedure of analysis has been applied in the study of mathematics and logics since before Aristotle. Nowadays, the analysis still plays a very important role in modern science. Then, how about synthesis? Is synthesis not important in research process? Synthesis is defined as the opposite procedure of analysis, to combine separate elements or components in order to form a coherent whole. In general, synthesis refers to a combination of two or more entities that together form something new. Alternatively, it refers to creating of something by artificial means. In most of the scientific research, analysis of data is understood as the core throughout the research process. However, this does not mean that researchers do not need synthesis. After obtaining an analytic outcome of a specific research, the researcher goes to the review process. In the review process, two or more research studies are assessed with the objective of summarizing or synthesizing the evidence relating to a particular question. Synthesis is understood as a higher a priori process than analysis. Not only in research review process, but also in our daily life, when we face a complex reality, synthesis plays a more important role than analysis. Next, I'll talk about KJ method, one of the most popular methods of synthesis, especially in humanities and liberal arts fields in Japan. Professor Jiro Kawakita was an eminent scholar of ethnogeography and Nepalese studies in Japan. Based on his university research studies in the East Asia and the Pacific region, he started his scientific career by establishing a climatic classification method. His primary interest was analyzing the man-land relationship of different societies. He continued to develop his methodology and systematic ethnogeographical research on Nepal. In pursuing fieldwork, he seeks to support his belief by obtaining from the chaos in which everything coexists. This book, Hirmangars and Their Neighbors, was written based on his fieldwork from June 1963 to March 1964 in Nepal. He starts the preface of this book as follows. The book presented here is Volume 3 of a series of academic reports on anthropological fieldwork, synthetic research on rice cultivating peoples in Southeast Asian countries. Here, Professor Kawakita identified his work as synthetic research. Then, how about his methodology of synthesis? He describes his synthetic research process as follows. I utilized about 70% of all collected field data in this volume. I owe Dr. Sasaki on a considerable amount of raw material through the greater part of the data mentioned was collected by me. These data, including Sasaki's, were arranged in the form of a bulky series of data charts, that form of which devised years ago. Starting from these data cards, I adopted the procedure of the KJ method for data integration. This method, including a series of technical procedures, was devised by me around 1951 in its incipient form. Since 1965, this method has been much appreciated by the world of business in Japan. Together with this incident, it was much improved as a method of problem solving by myself and named the KJ method. Nowadays, it began to spread speedily in the academic world and the field of education. Owing to this method, bulky data from my fieldwork were integrated into the present volume. One of the fundamental concepts of this method is data tells us something instead of data processing by means of certain preconceived ideas or theories. In the case of ethnography or regional geography, the output by means of the KJ method takes the form of heuristic description. The data are not arranged according to any preconceived categories such as topography, settlement, social structure, and religion. Instead, various kinds of data naturally integrated into stories with various suggestions or hypotheses generated in the process. However, objective description and subjective interpretation are distinguished as strictly as possible. Numberless ideas tentatively stated, by the way, will never mislead the reader but stimulate his imaginations. Since 1964, a number of chores hindered me from devoting myself to the publication of this volume. The disturbance of the Japanese student power drove me to an adventurous project, that is, Ido Daigaku, Free Campus College, by which I intended to spread the movement for participation. Therefore, my academic activities, including preparation of this volume, were almost blank between 1969 and 1973, except for development of the KJ method. Beginning with 1973, I could afford time to write down this volume. Professor Kawakita wrote many books about KJ method. This is my favorite book, KJ Method, Let Chaos Speak for Themselves. I encountered this book in 1987. The end result of KJ method is consciously visualized in figure 15. In the upper part of this figure, 5 rubbers are scattered randomly. In the lower part, voices of rubbers are heard, and 5 rubbers are arranged according to the hidden category revealed. The core of KJ method is let the chaotic data speak for themselves. 3 steps of narrowly defined KJ method. The simplest form of KJ method or KJ method first round is described from page 121st. The first step is problem presentation, starting from free generation of ideas regarding the problem. Participant is encouraged to write down any idea that comes to mind freely on a rubber, a piece of paper. After writing up enough numbers of rubbers, all rubbers are randomly scattered on a flat surface to get whole picture. The second step is to let each rubber to speak its idea. Actually, read all of these rubbers repeatedly. Look for ideas that seem to be scattered on some rubbers and sort rubbers into groups. The third step is, after grouping rubbers, to make a diagram arranging and or connecting groups, chunks of rubbers. The fourth step is verbalizing the diagram, putting into words. Well, this is a synthetic way Professor Kawakita analyzed his data of Nepal and wrote this book. Then, how about you? Are you ready to try KJ method?